Welcome to episode 410, where I'm talking with Vaidya Kamya Pillai about hypothyroidism through the Ayurvedic lens. The thyroid may be small, but its influence on energy, metabolism, weight, mood, and overall vitality is huge. Ayurveda invites us to explore the deeper root causes, and Vaidya Kamya shares insights and practical wisdom for supporting thyroid balance naturally. Hi there, I'm your host Colette, and on this podcast I will be sharing the teachings of Ayurveda, yoga, and holistic health practices. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend checking out the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. Thanks for listening, and now here's a new episode. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. Today, I'm very happy to welcome back Vaidya Kamya Pillai, who is a specialist in Ayurveda with more than 15 years of clinical experience. She earned her degree in Ayurvedic medicine from Mahatma Gandhi University in Kerala. Later, she served as a faculty in the same university before relocating to California. Currently, she works at Kerala Ayurveda Academy and Wellness Center as a Vaidya, core faculty, and a mentor. Coming from a family of teachers and healers, it has always been a calling as well as a privilege for her to choose this noble profession and serve the community. Vaidya Kamya believes in helping her clients through creative, practical tools using the principles of Ayurveda and yoga. Vaidya Kamya, welcome back to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you.
Hey, Colette, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be back on your podcast with one of my favorite topics.
Oh, wonderful. Well, yeah, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. And today, as you're talking about your favorite topic, we're exploring hypothyroidism through the lens of Ayurveda. And while the thyroid gland may be small, its impact on our energy, metabolism, mood, and overall vitality is really profound, right?
That's right. Yes.
So let's start for listeners who are new to Ayurveda. Can you share how Ayurveda understands the thyroid gland and its role in the body, please?
Yes, absolutely. So, like you said, the thyroid is, the size of a walnut. Maybe we can compare it to a walnut size. And it is located in front of our neck. And it controls the metabolism, how fast our body burns calories, how fast our heart beats, how we grow, especially in small kids, the growth and development, all of this is connected to thyroid. And we see a lot of imbalances, especially in the recent years. Thyroid disorders have become very common. In like imbalances like hypothyroidism, which means the thyroid is not making enough hormones, and then there is hyperthyroidism, where there is an overactivity of the thyroid gland. We also see thyroiditis conditions, like inflammatory conditions, the most common one being Hashimoto's thyroiditis. There are also thyroid nodules, many different conditions, but the most common among them is hypothyroidism.
And it's true, we are seeing such an increase in thyroid problems over the last decade, right?
That's right. And most concerning part is that most of us who experience these symptoms like, fluctuations in weight, like mostly weight gain, your energy fluctuations, most of the time feeling fatigued, not really motivated to do anything, constipation and other gut changes. Most people are concerned about the cosmetic part of it, like skin changes and how your hair becomes thin and brittle and dry, almost lifeless. There is also, that brain fog kind of presentations, excessive sleepiness. Always, they prefer to just sleep, or they always get, they get called like lazy. But the truth is that it's connected to their metabolism, right? An impairment in their metabolism. Women also present with menstrual abnormalities. It's most common in women, by the way. About
Yeah.
1 in 8 women um, in the US, that is the statistics in US, get affected by thyroid imbalances. So it has such a wide range of presentations, and it is very hard to detect it just with one factor. Just by looking at the TSH value, we might not be able to understand the entire clinical picture. And that's when Ayurveda becomes relevant, because I'm sure, Colette, your audiences might be familiar with the concept of Agni,
Mm-hmm.
how we talk about this entity called Agni in Ayurveda. Agni is that which controls our everything related to digestion and metabolism in our body, how our food is digested, how it gets converted to energy, how it creates tissues in our body, how energetic we feel, how we perceive or how we have hunger and thirst, how we control our body temperature. All of this is connected to Agni. So, whenever we see an impairment in Agni functions, so we see an impairment in any of these functions, that's when we can consider it as coming under the spectrum of thyroid disorders.
Okay. And just to explain for anybody very new to Ayurveda and just came upon this episode, Agni is your digestive fire, or the fire function in the body, the digestive function in the body.
Yes, yes.
Yes, we're looking now at the root causes. So Agni being one of those root causes, and the transformation, the fire itself is not functioning optimally.
That's right. Yeah. So that, every cell in our body has receptor sites for specific hormones. And there are only two types of receptor sites found in almost all cells in our body. One is for the thyroid hormones, and the other is for vitamin D. So you can see, just like we mentioned about Agni, which has a role in each and every part of our body, each and every cell in our body, how it decides our vitality, it gives, it decides the quality of our life, right? Similarly, the thyroid hormones are also connected to most of the functions of our life, and it is so much connected to our vitality.
Absolutely. So the Agni be the main factor. And then what doshas and dhatus are involved in hypothyroidism?
That's a great question, because thyroid disorders, if you look in our ancient textbooks, the thyroid gland itself or the disorders related to thyroid gland is not explicitly mentioned in any of these textbooks. So we look at the clinical picture and try to understand, on a case by case basis. Uh, in general, we can say, in the initial phase, especially, this is a kapha predominant condition. So you will see a lot of kapha aggravating causative factors, like wrong food choices, heavy, cold, eating a lot of cream cheese and things like that, or improper combinations. You might be familiar with viruddha, right? Incompatible combinations. It could also be your, overeating or emotional eating, or when it's connected to the lifestyle, a very sedentary lifestyle, having, irregular sleep patterns, ignoring natural urges. So, in all, you can see predominantly a kapha aggravating causative factor, but there is also definitely vata's role in it. And this happens at the level of the rasa dhatu. So, there is Agni impairment, an excess of kapha and vata, and a defect in rasa conversion. So you might remember when we talk about tissue conversion, how food gets transformed to rasa dhatu, and as a byproduct of this process, kapha is formed, right? As a waste. So this process, once it gets impaired, once the specific agni connected to that tissue, the first tissue in our body, gets impaired, there is an excess of kapha in the waste form. So that is also an important step, I would say, in the disease process. Now, when it comes to chronic hypothyroidism, the presentation is also very interesting. You can see, most of the times we cannot even make that connection that this could be hypothyroidism, because the rogi presents with, the person will present with aches and pains and mood disturbances, menstrual abnormalities, memory issues, and extreme cold intolerance. So, all these presentations where we see that deeper and deeper dhatu involvement, wherever we see more of a vata rakta kind of presentation, where the joints get affected, there is joint stiffness and pain, we can include the rakta dhatu. When we observe more of imbalance in fat metabolism, or weight gain, central obesity, all those point more towards a medas dhatu involvement. And so on, as the disease becomes chronic, and based on our genetic predisposition, our weak dhatus, right, with what we inherited, there could be a weakness there. So depending on that, the presentations can be different, and the dhatu involvement can also be different. So at a very basic level, we can say it's a kapha vata predominant condition, mainly affecting the rasa dhatu. As the disease progresses, more dhatus get involved, rakta, mamsa, medas, even up to shukra. So you will notice a lot of infertility cases connected to hypothyroidism.
Right, because of the Agni being affected, now the transformation of the essence of our food is not being transformed correctly, and then the dhatus or the tissues of the body are not being properly nourished, and then that goes on to affect all the other tissues in the process.
That's right. That's right. So how we talk about the sequential formation of dhatus, right? It's very interesting that paradigm is not there in any other science.
It is fascinating. And for anybody that's new to this concept of nutrition of the dhatus, I have a separate episode on that, detailing that process. So I will link it in the show notes if you're new to it. But you can see how not only starting from what we eat, or like you were saying, Vaidya Kamya, the food combinations, for eating out of season and so on, there's many reasons, but then also how we digest that. If our agni, our main agni, jatara agni in the stomach, is not working properly, then that can affect digestion, maybe create ama toxins. And then each agni in each of the steps of the dhatu or tissue formation as well can have an impact.
That's right. Beautiful. Yeah.
And if you could just talk a little bit about ama being a big factor as well, right? Toxins.
That's right. That's right. So ama, I always explain ama as a trouble accepting into our system, right? In trouble accepting something external and making it into a part of our mind body system. Whenever we have a trouble in that, that's when ama is generated. So that happens often with agni imbalances. Like if you have manda agni, we call it impaired or low agni, right? So agni is not functioning well. There is hypo functioning of agni. That's when ama is generated. So the food we eat, even if it's the best quality food, due to an impairment of our digestive fire, it's not getting converted properly, and that improperly formed byproduct it's not useful for the body. So it just stays there, it circulates in the system, and eventually it accumulates in the weak parts of the body. So that's where diseases are generated. Now, this is at a very, simple level, ama formation and how it leads to imbalances in the body. But when this process becomes a chronic pattern, we eat wrong food, the meal patterns can be problematic, or the food itself can be problematic. There is also the environmental toxins that we are exposed to. So all of this continuing for a long term can lead to ama being pushed deeper and deeper into the dhatus, that
Mm-hmm.
means into the tissues. And also, this ama attains the quality, a more subtle quality, where it becomes pretty much like a toxin. So, we'll see all signs of toxins, right? If we accidentally ingest toxin, we can see gut disturbances. You might get loose stools, you might get headache, you might get, rashes, skin manifestations. All of these signs and symptoms starts to show in the body. So this chronic ama presentation, which presents like a toxin, is called ama visha in Ayurveda. Visha means nothing but toxin. So this toxic condition can create a confusion at the immune system level. So the confused immune mechanism, together with inflammation, high inflammation in the body, inflammation is also connected to ama, right? So both these together is what leads to the autoimmune variety, or the presentation of Hashimoto's thyroiditis is pretty similar to this picture. So the signs and symptoms are very similar to hypothyroidism, but when we say hypothyroidism is a disease of the thyroid gland,
Mm-hmm.
Hashimoto's thyroiditis is inflammation of the of the thyroid gland because of a faulty or impaired immune system. So the
Mm-hmm.
immune system is confused and it attacks our own thyroid gland and destroys it. That is Hashimoto's thyroiditis. So you can see, it is slightly different from the presentation we mentioned earlier. Here you will see all the three doshas getting involved, and the ama, the chronic ama, ama visha presentation.
And what role does ojas play here?
Yes, that's a great question. Ojas, Colette, as you know, is connected to healthy kapha, right? If you have healthy kapha in the body, you have good ojas. Now, not just healthy kapha, but you need to have well balanced vata at different levels, or we can say well balanced prana, which can lead to optimally functioning tejas in the body, and that can help the conversion of ahara rasa to proper, in a proper manner, and it can nourish all the dhatus, all the tissues, right? So
Mm-hmm.
once all the tissues are nourished properly, theoretically we say the byproduct of all the tissues, or what we get as the essence of healthy tissues, is ojas. Ojas, for someone who is new to this term or new to Ayurveda, it is that protective envelope, not just for the physical body, but for our energetic and mental body as well, that gives us the strength and resilience. It kind of insulates us from anything, bad, and it helps us to have a very purposeful and integrated, way of living. So, ojas, healthy ojas, in simple terms, we can say it is connected to our resilience, our immunity, and our mental strength. So we see many times in cases, especially chronic hypothyroidism cases, there is low ojas presentation, meaning your the healthy, there is not enough ojas in your system, which will be shown as less energy. There could be nutritional deficiencies. Many a time we see ferritin deficiency connected to hypothyroidism cases, so that is also really important, anemia, and that needs to be addressed to feel better, right?
Okay.
uh, there will also be um, less resistance to diseases, falling sick every now and then. That is also a sign of low ojas. Emotionally, also, it can show a lot of signs and symptoms where you are constantly anxious and fearful. There is that indecisiveness. You can't make solid decisions, and it also affects a restful sleep. So many a times people present with insomnia. So
Mm.
if you notice these signs and symptoms, there is probably, this disease has started affecting your tissue quality, which has eventually led to an imbalance of ojas. And this is commonly seen in chronic hypothyroidism cases which is not managed properly, or sometimes people don't get help because there is not a lot of symptoms, loud symptoms, right? So they don't take they don't go for right treatment. That can lead to all sorts of complications. Now it might start as something simple, like feeling fatigued or less energy, but as you remember, Rasavaha Srotas is also the root of the Pranavaha Srotas, right? So it can lead to, um, it's also connected to the Pranavaha Srotas through the heart, right? So it can lead to breathing disturbances. It can lead to cardiac diseases. So the Hridaya or heart, we consider it as one of the main marmas. So that can get eventually impacted in many different ways. It could be something minor, or it can lead to major life-threatening conditions. So it should, just because it doesn't have a lot of clear symptoms, it should not be neglected because it can lead to an impairment of our life itself.
Has such a wide impact on the body, as you said. Once the tissue deterioration starts and the tissues are not being nourished properly, then it's going to filter down, affect the ojas, and then can have a bigger role in the pranavaha shrotas in the body, affecting respiration and the heart and so on. So that's fascinating. And what role, of course, we have to look at stress, what stress plays in the body. And also, I think, taking into consideration the location of the thyroid in the body in regards to chakras, and that energetically it's in our communication center, right? In our voice. Can you talk a
Yes.
little bit about that and the role of stress and not, I feel, not using our voice and being
Yes, yes.
true to ourselves?
You have used the exact terms which I wanted to use.
Great.
So, this role of stress, and how we see this pattern, all these 15 plus years, I have been seeing um, patients affected with thyroid disorders. Uh, my practice is not limited to thyroid clients, right? So it's a varied set of disorders, but I see a lot of, there is more prevalence of this condition in the recent times. And when I remember when I was doing my residency, we used to go in the ward searching for thyroid patients so that we could study it, like observe clinically. So now it has it has become a drastically different scenario where every other person, or mostly women, are suffering at some point in their life, maybe during their adolescence, or maybe during their the pregnancy period or postpartum period, or menopause, at some point they are suffering because of a thyroid imbalance. And what I have seen, as our lifestyle has changed, most predominant factor in these cases is definitely stress, right from childhood, right? Even kids are not spared, that pushing them to do more than what they can handle. Stress in Ayurveda is nothing but pushing our limits, right? Our physical limit, our mental limit, or our verbal limit. So whenever we overdo or push ourselves to the extremes, that's what we call as stress. We can just compare it to any machine, be it the blender or a car. It When we use it properly, right? We run it for maybe an hour, everything is fine. We use the same car for a cross country trip and we run it for hours and hours without taking a break, the car will definitely break down, right? So the body is also, it has its breaking point. So this chronic stress and high level of stress that we are exposing ourselves to is what will push our system. It will cause the adrenaline gland to produce more, excess of cortisol, which will in turn suppress the TSH production and partially affect the production of thyroxine and lead to a slowing down of metabolism. Now, indirectly, also, it can affect us by ruining our gut health, right? We all know how stress impacts our gut health. Even when we are stressed about something, acute stress, maybe there is a test coming up, you immediately see the impact on the gut. You feel like using the restroom multiple times. On a chronic basis, what happens is it impairs the proper functioning of our digestive system, and that can lead to slow metabolism. Like we said, the Agni impairment, ama development, and symptoms related to that. And then there is another layer of how we respond to stress. We develop our own coping mechanism. Some of us unfortunately turn to some maybe emotional eating or some substance abuse. All this can happen, which is also eventually leading to ama visha, or the toxic condition. It can also burden our liver, right? So what we call as a sluggish activity of liver can happen, which is also like liver is one of the major sites where conversion of the thyroid hormone, from T4 to T3, that conversion takes place. So liver gets affected. All of this starting point is, most of the time we see there is that stress induced vata pitta imbalance. So this vata pitta imbalance, body is resilient, body will take care of it initially, but after a certain point, once we reach the breaking point, there will be malfunctioning of the feedback mechanism of the neuroendocrine system, which we call as chronic vata disturbance, right? Vata disturbance at multiple levels, at the prana level, udana level, samana level, apana level, and vyana level. So at all these different levels, you will see there is imbalance. You will see signs of imbalance. Yeah, like you rightly pointed out, Colette, I see this pattern of, especially in kapha pitta predominant prakriti. I'm not saying that, though, it affects only those prakriti, but I have seen this pattern where that energetic blockade, right? Like you said, the throat chakra involvement, how there is some history when we explore. It is connected to guilt or shame, because that pitta predominance in their prakriti, or the kapha pitta predominance in their prakriti, makes them be very self-critical. Even if it is not their fault, they tend to be very, judgmental on themselves. So that feeling of guilt, and kapha pittas also bottle up their emotions. They are not good at speaking their truth, right? So, that combined with that tamas getting into the system because of that excess imbalance kapha, there is a tamoguna increase, or that inertia sets in, right? So, all of it together leads to an energetic disruption as well, and combined with the physical, it's always a multifactorial um, um, you know situation. It's not just stress, or it's not just the gut related or the other physical factors. Most of the time it's a combination. So you have a genetic predisposition, that by itself doesn't mean anything, but that combined with gut disturbances, that combined with stress, that combined with lifestyle disturbances, that is what leads to the full blown presentation of this disease. So you rightly said about the role of the chakras in this disease.
This episode is sponsored by Kerala Ayurveda Academy. Low energy, foggy recall, stubborn weight that won't come off? Your thyroid might be sending a signal. Kerala Ayurveda Academy trains practitioners to assess these patterns and apply classical, practical protocols in real life. If you're ready to deepen your skills, explore their upcoming trainings and workshops with faculty like Vaidya Kamya, and learn the art and science of healing through Ayurveda. Visit Kerala Ayurveda Academy at keralaayurveda.us/courses and use the code ELEMENTS100, that's ELEMENTS100, for $100 off your enrollment. And you can find all those details in the show notes. You've had such experience over the past 15 years with thyroid cases, and maybe you could take us through of how you start with your investigation into this when you're sitting down with a rogi and doing the intake. And obviously you're having a detailed consultation with them. And so what does that look like?
So that's a great question. The sad part is that we don't usually get people in the initial stages where it is easily manageable, and there we need only simple tools at that level. But at that level, it's very rare for someone to recognize this pattern and reach out for help. We often hear people talking about how their metabolism is not, by birth, I'm like this. Even if I drink water, I gain weight. And they think it is their nature, right? So, in even in people who have learned the basics of Ayurveda, there is this understanding that, oh, if you're kapha prakriti, means you are born, you will have fatigue, you will have laziness. That is not the case. That is a kapha imbalance, clearly, right? So understanding this differentiation between how a well balanced kapha presents versus how they present in case of kapha imbalance. So when yogis come with varied presentations, most of the time in my clinical practice, when they come for other concerns, because this is one of my favorite area, I always check with them about their thyroid, the recent lab tests, if they have done any tests recently, and if at any point in their life, if they had any thyroid imbalances, maybe during pregnancy, right? So we can, I ask these questions, and you might know how elaborate our intake forms itself. There are pages to fill, and then the consultation itself will be 60 to 90 minutes long. So during this consultation, I get detailed information from them, starting with their current concerns, even if it is not directly connected to thyroid, thyroid imbalances or hypothyroidism. I recently had a patient who presented with neck stiffness, and that was her only concern. So, neck stiffness, neck pain, it is definitely an indication of kapha increasing in vata increasing in the kapha sthana. And when I explored more, I could understand there was slow metabolism, hypothyroidism kind of presentation. Even though I don't call it a hypothyroidism, there is Agni imbalance at various levels, right? At the gut level, at the tissue level. So by correcting that itself, I didn't have to do any particular panchakarma treatment for this rogi or any particular, external body therapies for her neck stiffness. Just by correcting the Agni and giving some targeted formulations, I could reverse her problem, right? I could, she felt relief. So that is, most of the time we cannot depend too much on the lab values or the lab test results.
Right.
So if they have it, very good. That is good for me to look or review and understand their problems. But if even if the lab values show that everything is completely normal, if I see signs of Agni imbalance and Dhatu Agni imbalance at these levels that we discussed earlier, I treat them along those lines and they get relief.
And so let's talk now about you say diagnose somebody with hypothyroidism and what you're suggesting to them in regards dinacharya and some general do's and don'ts for hypothyroidism.
Yes, that's a very relevant question, Colette. Thank you for asking that. In any thyroid imbalances, here we are specifically talking about hypothyroidism because that's the most common one. So we see that in the current life situations that we are in, um, mostly there is a major role for diet. So diet modification is a very important tool. Then, like I mentioned earlier, the stress. How can we handle stress? Giving tools for that. The most important one, if you want me to prioritize something in this long list, I would say it is living in tune with nature. So we all know how important, we talk about the circadian rhythm and how the external world, the sun moon cycle and everything has an impact on how our system works. So, and in that, I would say sleep hygiene. If you say, you know, just highlight one among all of it, I would say sleep hygiene is number one because this sleep time restoration is what we find most difficult to correct when we are trying to address someone who's already going through a lot, right? They have this imbalance in their energy, gut disturbances, so a lot of things going on, emotional disturbances. So we want a starting point. We want to start somewhere. This is the best place. Start with their bedtime. If they have a good, sleep routine, very good. We'll move on to next. But if not, in most cases, I notice that, especially young mothers, right? Recently, when they have kids, um, they tend to compromise their sleep, or they sleep at odd times, right? So that can disrupt their metabolism, that can affect their thyroid function. So I would start at restoring their normal sleep routine because that is also the restoration time of the body, right? We always talk about the pitta time of the body, the second wind of pitta, where the rejuvenation, restoration, and repair work happens, and even the metabolism related activities happen at that golden time. So we call it the restoration time of the body or the housekeeping time of the body. And once we correct that, once we help the patient, once we help the person to sleep on time, maybe they are sleeping at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, slowly helping them bring it to 12. We start in a very gentle manner. So we slowly help it to bring it to the ideal time, which is 9 p.m. So 9:30 ideally, having a bedtime around that time. And people suffering with insomnia, who is not able to sleep well, having a disturbed sleep pattern, they need additional support. They need some herbs and some other modifications to help with sleep quality. Now, after that, I would focus on their um, food, right? So nowadays we see most people eat for what do you say? It's a taste-driven food intake, right? It's a gastronomic experience. People consider each meal as something that should just excite their taste buds. And we forget that each ingredient that we take in has an impact on our health. So we get this ability to make that choice that could help us create health or disrupt our health, and we don't realize the significance of that. So looking at their dietary intake, looking at especially what kind of food are they mostly eating, and the time with respect to food intake as well. We can also, most cases we can see that feeding channel for vata imbalance, something contributing to constant vata imbalance. Maybe they're holding their urges, maybe they're always running around on the go, eating food on the go. So understanding these key causative factors and preventing it. So that is another area where I would focus. Then causes of ama, what is leading to ama formation, that can also be corrected. And finally, most important, stress, right? How can we increase our resilience? How can we, there is only one way, and it is not, I wouldn't say it is easy. I wouldn't say I have figured it all out, but there is a very effective tool that Ayurveda gives us, that yoga gives us. So utilizing that to strengthen our inner core.
Right. So using the yogic practices, mindfulness practices, pranayam, and so on,
That's
meditation.
right. Seasonally, there are some practices that we do, which are called ritucharya. Ritucharya in Sanskrit, ritu means season, and charya means our practices that we modify according to the seasonal changes. So there are certain things that need to be changed with respect to our, inputs, our diet, our lifestyle. Everything needs to change as the season changes. We change our wardrobe maybe, or we look at our car and we test the tire maybe. We look at all these things when the seasons are changing as a precaution. But we don't think about what is happening within our system. How can this change of season impact us, right? We often notice when we go to a new place, which has a completely different weather condition, we fall sick sometimes. That is when we realize, yes, external environment has an impact on us. So when the season changes, this change within our system happens very slowly. We won't be even able to recognize this very easily. So Ayurveda has clearly described what to do during the seasonal shift. So making sure that we follow these ritucharya practices in addition to the changes we make to the daily regimen, that is actually the final answer to these lifestyle diseases like hypothyroidism. And in that comes the importance or the role of a seasonal cleanse as well.
I'm jumping in here as Vaidya Kamya just mentioned the importance of seasonal cleansing. And we're on the threshold of the change of seasons. And that's why I'm hosting a discounted group digestive reset cleanse starting October 3rd. This Ayurvedic cleanse helps you to transition smoothly by eliminating any accumulated toxins and balancing the doshas. It resets the Agni or digestive fire, boosts immunity, and includes self-care and mindfulness practices to calm the body and mind, improve sleep, and restore clarity and energy. Each participant receives a 90-minute online consultation with me so that I can tailor the cleanse to your unique needs and lifestyle. For more info and to register, just click on the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. And for this group discounted event starting October 3rd, just go to the events page. And I hope to connect with you soon. And so, I'm thinking about someone now who's on lifelong thyroid medication, bringing in the dinacharya, the daily self-care practices you talked about, the ritucharya, the seasonal practices, good sleep hygiene, stress management, and so on, can really assist them as they're taking this thyroid medication.
Yes, that's also very important, because I often hear, my thyroid is underactive, so it's not producing enough hormones. Isn't it, straightforward thinking that I just replenish it, that I just give it externally, right? So it is a simple thing. Why do we need to complicate it? But the problem is, in spite of taking medication, many people still suffer from all those symptoms that I mentioned initially, like fatigue. They still feel fatigued. They still experience hair fall. They still have irritability, shouting at kids for no reason. Then, all these constipation kind of symptoms, all of those are continuing. So that means the root cause is not being addressed, right? So, just I'll give you an example. Say if someone is helping us prepare food and do all the household chores, like they help us with cleaning, they help us with cooking food, washing dishes, and all of those things. Uh, and one day they are sick, they're not feeling well. So we decide, okay, let's get food from outside, let's DoorDash. So we don't even have to go in search of food. It comes to our doorstep, right? And we do that for one day. We do that, for 1 week, 1 month. We realize that even though nobody is becoming, is getting critically affected, right? We are getting fed on time, but still, there are things in the background behind the curtain that are not being addressed. Like the house will be dirty, right? The dishes are piling up. So, similarly, in our body, even if we supplement it, there are some things in the samprapti, in the disease process that continues. And without addressing that, the disease process will continue into the complication stage. So, that's where Ayurveda can step in. Another category of people is those who experience side effects or negative effects after taking even natural thyroid medicines. Some people experience palpitation. Sometimes their the TSH values just goes up and down for no reason. So in such cases, also it will be good to look at it through another fresh pair of eyes and understand it through a different perspective. So in those cases, I would again, like you said, I look at their particular life scenario. Where are they with respect to their life situations and their disease process? Is it in the beginning stage? Is it at an advanced stage? Is it in the complication stage? And depending upon that, our approach will vary. But something that stays constant is how we modify their diet, how we modify their lifestyle, and these seasonal practices. And the I cannot stress enough the importance of ritu shodhana, which is seasonal cleanse, and how it helps to bring back the quality of life.
Absolutely. And it really helps navigate your body, in particular your Agni, through that transition of the season as well.
Yes, and also there are some things that cannot be controlled by us, right? So aging, it's not in our hands. We can delay it. We cannot prevent it. We can just delay it. And external, environmental pollutants, harmful chemicals, endocrine disrupting chemicals, industrial chemicals, pesticides, heavy metals, all of these things we will definitely get exposed to it. But how can we ensure that our system is able to detoxify properly? I know I use that term very cautiously these days because it's thrown around irresponsibly. But yes, detoxification is the key. If there is any impairment in that process, again, toxins accumulate in the system. We definitely cannot live in a bubble, right? Clearing, detoxifying system stronger is another key.
Yeah, clearing out any accumulation of the toxins of ama and any accumulation of the doshas at the end of season, and really going into the new season feeling energized, where your Agni is functioning optimally. The tissues are nourished and so on. It's a great way to start the new season.
Yes, yes. Especially the fall season, if you think about it, it is our body is naturally equipped to do that during this season. So as we age, this normal process can get impaired. Uh, so that is when we intervene with these additional tools.
Absolutely. And can you take us through, if you have a case study that you could share with us about a rogi that you were working with hypothyroidism?
Absolutely. Yes. So usually I mentioned, how women are affected more with thyroid problems. But I had a rogi. He was in his 40s, and he came to me with, he had the lab results. So it was normal T3, T4, but TSH was high. Like what was, I think it was 8.8. And his doctor suggested to just wait and watch. Maybe he gave the option of starting medicines in very low dose. So either he can do that or just wait and watch. So this was a very interesting case, a male, and that too without any other common, the typical presentation of weight gain or fatigue. Fatigue was there to some extent, but how we look at a person and we try to understand what is going on, right? This was like a not a typical case, so that's the reason why I remember that case. And for this person, not a lot of dietary modification was needed because his diet was also pretty clean and timely. He had a very good, routines were also good. The only thing that was affecting him was that need for, I would say, an extreme urge to be perfect in every situation. Right? So you can imagine the prakriti as well. So that combined with some stressful events in the family is what led to this. That was my assessment. And very simple medicines. And one of the main, I would say, main medicine that worked for him was amla. On empty stomach, amla, slightly a higher dose for 10 days continuously. That is what, just turned around his life, I would say. So that along with the usual diet, lifestyle modification, then, things that help with perception, things that help with better resilience, things that help us to understand life better, right? That's what Ayurveda helps us. Ayurveda itself is life science, the science that helps to understand life better. So that is what helped this person. There are
Interesting.
typical, cases we get, like overweight, period, there is imbalances in the menstrual cycle, people who struggle with weight gain. A very young girl, I remember, she was in her early 20s, and she was suffering with weight gain problem. That was her only concern. She wanted to lose weight somehow. She had tried all different sorts of diets, and I suggested her, because at that time she was in India. So I suggested her to do a complete thyroid evaluation, and that showed high levels of antibodies. So then, she had already done basic tests, and that was normal. But that shows how important these, additional tests are, which unfortunately we cannot have all those elaborate tests always, right? So once that was understood, we understand there is an immunological component in the disease process, and in her case, there was also that sluggish liver aspect. So that is where I focused, and seasonal cleanses were also done for her, um, and finished the protocol with some mind supporting Methya Rasayanas, incorporating therapies like Nasya, then incorporating pranayama, uh, yeah, lifestyle modification, and that helped. So she was happy because she lost a lot of weight, and I was happy too because the metabolism improved. So that is another case that I remember, and she's now pregnant in her first
Ah.
trimester. Yeah.
Oh, wow. What a great story there. Thank you so much for sharing those case studies and for all this wonderful information today. And as we finish up here, Vaidya Kamya, if you want to share anything else that you didn't get to share.
Yes, yes. Well, as we are talking, I just remember that something I often find, people, they get disturbed a lot when there is this inconsistent view about food, what to eat. Something that uh, half of, more than half people struggle with. What should I eat? Am I eating right? Right. So with hypothyroidism cases, we see this confusion. Um, I would say if it is the initial stage where we discussed, more of kapha accumulation, a rasa dhatu involvement, um, focusing on diet that supports Agni, that reduces kapha, that is good enough. So
Mm,
very simple digestive formulations can turn around your metabolism,
mm,
right? So don't no need to worry a lot, or if you are still confused, definitely reach out to a knowledgeable practitioner. Um, but then in the later cases, things become a little tricky. So, when your Agni itself becomes erratic, you will often hear these patients complaining of a very, erratic appetite. So in early morning or in the evening, that is when they feel most hungry, like a voracious appetite in the tea time. So along with tea, they will gobble up a lot of heavy food, because they say it is a time when they cannot control uh, what happens. So they might eat a very heavy food at that time, or even in the early morning time. So vata time, that Vishama nature will increase. So, and understanding that, and that is not easy to do by yourself. So, definitely, if you have this kind of a presentation, then definitely reach out to a Vaidya. Don't
mm.
go on a low calorie diet trying to lose weight, because that can have a lot of health implications, can lead to nutritional deficiencies and other complications. So that is one thing I wanted to mention here. And of
Yeah.
course, keeping away from prepackaged food. taking care of nutritional deficiencies. And if you have that ama toxin, ama visha kind of presentation, going on a gluten-free, dairy-free diet, soy-free diet would also be a good idea. So trying it for a period of 3 months, kind of testing out how is it working for you. That is also something I would suggest.
Thank you so much. And as we finish up here, I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about Kerala Ayurveda Academy, where people can find out about the new fall programs.
Yes, yes. So we have a wonderful website, keralaayurveda.us. So that is where you can find, if you go to the website, you can see there is an academy part, there is a wellness center part, and there is products. So you can explore more in academy. You will see a lot of courses. So there are counselor level courses, many certification courses are there, practitioner level course, many workshops. There are free webinars. So you will get information of all those from the website. Many free resources are also there. So you can check that out.
Wonderful. And so the Kerala Ayurveda Academy and Wellness Center is located in Milpitas, but of course, courses are online as well. So I will put the link in the show notes where you can find all that information. Vaidya Kamya, I can't thank you enough. I really always enjoy our conversations. I learn a lot and I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you so much, Colette. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And I hope to all those listening, I hope this has been a very healing conversation for you. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Vaidya Kamya. And please, if you think that this episode would be helpful to family or friends, share it with them so we can spread this wisdom of Ayurveda. Don't forget to check out the show notes for all the links mentioned in this episode. And don't forget, I have that upcoming discounted digestive reset cleanse starting October 3rd. So please come join this great international community and we can support each other and hold each other accountable. If you haven't already subscribed or followed the podcast, please do so. And the new weekly episodes will automatically download for you. And if you would like to rate and review the podcast, I would really appreciate that wherever you listen to your podcasts. And come join me on social media. My new Instagram page is Elements of Ayurveda Podcast. And on Facebook, it's Elements Healing and Wellbeing. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take good care of yourself, be well, and bye for now. Slán go fóill.